we were pissing neon green every day.
The big ball of heat in the sky was too much.
I thought there was a bear.
Reality goes, yeah, fresco. That's what I'm saying.
Hey, everybody. What's up, everybody? Welcome to
StouryTime.
StouryTime. Hey, everybody. Welcome to StouryTime with John and Friends. I'm your host, John. Today's guest recently released a new single and music video this past August titled Final Warning with their band Mind Incision, which can be streamed anywhere you get your music. You can catch Mind Incision on tour right now supporting Tommy Vexed and Makes My Blood Dance. Please welcome my new friends, Jason Neal and Joel Karshner. Hey, guys, thanks so much for joining the show.
What's up? Thank you.
Why don't you tell the people a little bit about yourselves?
I'm Jason, and I do vocals for the band. And yeah, we are excited to be here, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, my name's Joel. I play bass and do some backup vocals. And just to echo what Jay said, I mean, definitely thanks for having us here. Appreciate
Absolutely. Thank you guys for coming on. So I checked out your guys' music. It rips. You guys shred. It's a very good. So where did the name come from? How did you guys come up with that?
So this band was before we all joined the band. It was a solo project from our founder and guitar player John Maggard. I've explained this a few times, but I always kind of get it wrong. He had a dream about mind control through sound wave, and so when he started the solo project on his own, he decided to call it Mind Incision, and that's kind of what that is.
Very cool.
Yeah, and then what we did going forward with that is we kind of adapted like that mind control kind of thing, and it's not really mind control, it's just more like raising awareness. So what we do is like once a year or so we'll find a subject in the world that needs attention, and we'll write a song around that and kind of bring awareness to it. A good example of that is The Awakening. We released it last year in September during Suicide Prevention Month, and that song is geared towards bringing to light the amount of teenagers and children that deal with suicidal thoughts and self-harming each day.
Okay, very cool.
So, yeah.
Nice. Now, you guys all kind of have, your own backgrounds as far as playing with other bands and everything. How did you guys all come together to join this band and, make it is what it is today?
I could tell you my part of it, and then Joel can tell you his part of it. But essentially, Joel finalized the lineup for the band. So I'll start with John. He had John and Kyle already. They were already writing music together. And I remember them posting songs and stuff and saying they were looking for guest vocalists on songs. And so I hit up John, and we've known each other for 20 years, longtime friends throughout this band, like separately though. Anyway, I've known John for that long, and when I hit him up, I was like, look, man, I'll come do a track with you. And he was like, sweet, awesome. So we ended up doing Aneurysm of a Narcissist. That was the first track, and this was so brutal and so fun for all of us that we just kind of decided, I think we're going to move forward with this as a band. So at that point in time, it was me, John, and Kyle. And then Kelly came shortly after that when we started working on our second single, which was Slaves to the Game. And and then it was us for probably close to a year with no bass player. And then Joel, why don't you tell your story, buddy?
Yeah, so I came into the band I just hit over the year mark. Jay and I, we've been close friends for going on 20 years as well. My old band and his old band here in Denver used to play a lot of shows together. And same with John and Kyle's old bands. Denver's a pretty tight-knit community here with the music scene. So everybody kind of, has played together, has known each other for a long time. And my wife and I went down to, it was Coal Chamber and Mudvayne we went to go see, and found out that Jay was there. And we haven't seen each other for, it has to have been 6-7 years or something like that, maybe even longer. And we kind of reconnected, exchanged numbers, and yeah, he called me up the next day and asked me if I wanted to play bass in the band. And I was like, why not? I'll give it a shot. My wife actually pushed me. She was like, just do it for fun because, we bought a house up in the mountains like 10 years ago. So it's been tough for me to be involved in music for the last 10 years just because of where I live. But I was like, why not? So that's kind of how I came into play.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So you guys formed in 2022. Was when you guys finally had, everybody in the band, was it always the plan to go at it full-fledged and, hit the ground running and, touring and everything?
Yeah. Yeah. From when the four of us first formed and didn't have Joel, my manager Sean Baruch, he had managed my old band Arcanium, and he'd worked with Joel in several projects as well in the past. But when I told him that I was back at it, he was like, "Oh, we got to do this." So we retained him as our manager and moved forward. And then and it was September last year of 2023 that we solidified the band. And Sean was blown away that it ended up being Joel playing bass for us, because obviously he'd worked with him before too. So he was pretty happy about that. And yeah, the plan has been since the very beginning. This is what John and Kelly and Kyle have always wanted to do. It's what me and Joel have always wanted to do. And we have done these things, in the past with other bands, but to get all of us together, they kind of like the media out here kind of calls us like a super group of Denver because of the attention that we've had from other bands. So to have us all come together, we knew that this is what we were going to do. So once we solidified the lineup, I mean, it didn't take any time at all. I think it was, he came in September. I think by February, we confirmed our European tour with El Nino and
Wow, that is quick. That is very quick. That's awesome. Congratulations on that, because that's very cool that you guys have this much success right off the bat, which is very cool to see. So you, Jason, you sang with Arcanium, correct?
Yeah.
What is, as far as like the differences in this band and that band, like the writing process, is there much of a difference as far as that goes?
For me, it's always kind of the same, because I end up being like the last person to throw my 2 cents in. I mean, there have been songs where I say, look, here's a song I have for lyrics, and then the guys will write. But in Mind Incision, we haven't done that yet. This band, it kind of came together, and John had this library of songs with Kyle. And so what happens is Kelly gets a hold of them for drums, and then we get bass in there. And then really at the end of it, the end of pre-production anyway, I end up putting some lyrics on there and figuring out the cadences and whether we're going to do like screaming or singing in certain parts and all that, and just kind of get the pre-production finished. At that point, what we do is we take it to our producer, Dave Otero, and then he helps produce and does all the post-production stuff and all that. And it usually comes out top notch. So.
Nice. Okay. Now, so with the style of the music, because you do clean sing and then you a lot of screaming when you're performing, is it like how is that on your voice, like switching back and forth? Does it kind of deteriorate over time, or is it just something that you've kind of built up over time that it just it doesn't phase you?
It definitely doesn't phase me anymore. This is something that I've been working on for decades of my life. I mean, I started screaming with bands like Cannibal Corpse and Deicide and stuff when I was 13. So to incorporate the singing into that was the harder part. Once nu metal hit, Fear Factory dropped Demanufacture, and Mudvayne came out and dropped LD50, and System of a Down went crazy with their stuff with Surge. I mean, that's when the way that I wanted to sing changed. And I had to train my voice to do that, because it's not easy.
Right.
And anybody who can do it knows that it's not easy. Now, live, it doesn't really bother me anymore. But the only thing that really does bother me is if I get like a little cold in my head or something or anything like that, it gets a little bit more difficult to change back and forth. But I've also written the songs to where I don't have extreme changes that I can't handle either. So
Nice. So I want to know, like, for both of you, is Is there a specific moment or like concert that you guys went to when you were young that made you decide you wanted to do this? When you grew up, because we all have those moments. I mean, I no longer tour. I used to be in a band that we toured for 7 or 8 years, and you know, that moment of like that first concert is the one that's like, oh man, I want to be up there. That's what I want to do. Like, do you guys remember that moment for you?
I do. Yeah. I mean, I've been playing guitar since I started playing guitar around the age of 10.
Okay,
I've always been drawn to music. I come from a family of musicians. You know, my dad is a vocalist, my mom's a piano player. So and for me, gosh, how old was I? Maybe 13 years old, I think 12 years old. I saw MXPX for the first time. That was my first
nice.
concert, old school punk, and
Hell yeah,
that for me was it. You know, I was like, this is what I want to do, kind of thing. So
that's great.
Um,
Same question.
for me, it was Metallica Guns N' Roses 1992 at Mile High Stadium. I was 12, and it was my first big metal concert. I went with my older brother. Um, it just blew me away. And what's funny about that is it's a very famous performance by Guns N' Roses because they literally walked off the stage and Metallica came out and saved the day and played like an extra hour or something. It was incredible. So
Wow.
when I saw Metallica up there doing their thing for I think it was the Black Album, and they played a lot of Master of Puppets too, but vague memories of it. But yeah, like that was the moment for me. I was like, this is me all day.
Awesome. Very cool. So as far as since you guys have been in other bands and everything and you've done more touring, is there like any major differences between then and now? Post COVID and all this shit that's happened since then.
There
And
absolutely
what would those
is,
be?
man. The differences are in the way that the promoters treat the package is what I've seen. I've done, I mean, with Arcanium, I toured with Megadeth, Machine Head, and Suicide Silence, and that tour was just catered every night, and we were taken care of. We had our own green room. It didn't matter. Whereas like these tours now, I feel like after COVID, everybody's broke. They had shut down for 2 years, so the promoters don't have as much of a budget to like help out with the bands. Even though we're on the tour, we are not getting like fed, and some promoters are a little better about it. Like if there's food in the venue, they'll give us like a half off thing, but it's definitely different. COVID definitely changed the world for musicians that are out there working their asses off, for lack of a better term, and not reaping the benefits that we should. I mean, in my personal opinion, and I don't care who listens to this or who watches this, whatever, any promoter out there, maybe advance it a little bit better, figure out who's all going to be on there, and see if you can feed everybody, because we are starving and it sucks to have to go out and eat ramen noodles on the road. So y'all just, little steak medallions and asparagus, that'd be great.
yeah, and I'd agree with Jay on that. I mean, a little bit of a different perspective for me has been like the way in 2024 now with online streaming options. um I feel like it's a little easier to start to draw crowds in different cities that you haven't been to yet, even if it's just a couple people. We noticed even in Europe, but especially on the Mushroom Head tour, sitting at the merch booth every night after playing, multiple people would come up and be like, "Oh my gosh, I've been listening to you guys the last few weeks because I found out you were on tour with so and so, and I came for you guys to see you guys live." And I feel like it's a double-edged sword with like Spotify and stuff, because I think
Yeah.
it takes a lot of money out of artists' pockets, but at the same time, I think it makes it easier for you to kind of get known. But there also is a lot of competition, so it's kind of that give and take, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I totally get that. Now, when you guys went to Europe, with being such a new band at the time, like how were you guys received and how were those shows?
That's an interesting question, because what Joel said about the Spotify, over here in the US, that's a little more prominent, because over there, I feel like nobody really knew, who we
Hmm.
were. Like they liked us, yeah. And I mean, we're up there ripping it up, and they got into it. They throw their hands in the air and all that stuff, but they're not sure. So for a lot of the shows, you got people standing there like, okay, all right, well, I like this band,
Mhm.
and it was hard to gauge the crowds because there's a serious language barrier over there. There's a lot of things over there that that I was like, oh, okay. I mean, it's pretty hard to communicate and stuff like that. But I feel like we were received well. And I also feel like the online kind of looky-loo people, they don't they don't do it over there as much. They're waiting for you to get there and they want to see who you
Mm.
are. That's what it feels like, at least when you're over there. So
Okay. Is there anything from that tour that's really memorable from that experience?
I
yeah.
mean, every second. I mean, really, and I think I can speak for everybody because I don't think anybody in the band has ever been to Europe until that tour. So it was all new for all of us. But yeah, I mean, you're waking up in a different city, different country every day. Um, I mean, I don't know. Playing on a ship in Budapest, Hungary was pretty memorable. That
Yeah,
there's just too many to count, to be honest with you.
What
there is,
was
but
what was
you know,
that like being on the ship? Like, how did that happen? You know what I mean? Because that's not
The
something you hear very often.
It's a badass venue is what it is. I don't know. They turned like this old is it an old warship or something? I think they turned
it,
into like a venue.
it was like some kind of barge for military. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they call it the A38. I mean, the place you walk in there and literally the green room is where the motor is. And like
Hmm.
took crazy videos of it. I mean, the place was packed. It was a really incredible show. And then after the show, you're able to like go up on the upper decks and like hang out on the big river. I don't even know. What river was that? I can't remember.
It was a huge river that runs through Budapest.
And it
Yeah.
goes all the way down to like the one of the smaller seas, the Black Sea or something.
Okay.
But yeah, sitting on that boat and hanging out with everybody, it was just so cool, man. Like the city's right there, and you're like all this water is rushing by, and you just played a badass show, and you're just sitting on the deck, having drinks with your bros, and you're in Budapest, Hungary, and you're going, "We got it made, man. This is sweet." So
That's awesome. That is crazy. Is there so what was your favorite place to play? Like as far as in the
Mm.
UK or Europe rather?
that's a really hard question. There were several that were good. For me personally, I liked the not Mannheim, but oh god, what was the one at Backstage Live, dude, in Germany?
Oh, oh, geez.
Starts
Not
with an M.
Munich.
Munich, yeah.
It was
So
Munich.
Munich was cool. That was a sold out show. It was at a memorable venue that everybody plays at. So like everyone signed the wall, and uh, you know, we got all the good stuff too, like really good catering, nice showers. The only thing that I didn't like so much about the European tour is how hot it was in every venue
My
until we
gosh.
got to the UK. Like, because everything down south, it was just so hot, and it's like they don't believe in air conditioning or something out there. So, like, the floors are sweating, like, at
Yeah.
every show.
Yeah, we're
It's
soaked by the
it
time we get
was
off
it
stage.
was bad, but I think, for me, Munich and most memorable up in the northern area, I really liked the London show at the Underworld. That was really cool to play there. Literally, Motley Crue played there the week before we got there, so it was really cool to
That's
to
awesome.
hear that story.
Yeah.
There's just so much to talk about, man, because like I mean, we can talk about venues all day, but when you wake up in Vienna and go to the city and see all this amazing architecture and all these cathedrals and stuff, you're just like, what? And then we had dinner on a boat on the river. I mean, just the thing, it didn't stop on that tour. It was just amazing, amazing, amazing. Every time you wake up, something else was amazing. We woke up in Switzerland and we went and got Swiss chocolate. It was the best chocolate we've ever had, stuff like that.
Very cool. Uh, so I just lost my train of thought. I had a question to follow up on that, but that's okay. We'll move on. Let's see. So typically I have people on to come on and share some stories. Is there anything that you guys can think of that you want to share Anything memorable from any specific tours? I saw that you guys just finished up a tour with Mushroomhead, correct? Is there anything from
Yeah.
that tour that really stands out for you guys?
Um, for me personally, it's definitely being on stage and playing, performing. But for me, it's all about the interactions after we play. We go down to the merch table, hang out, and that's where I really enjoy myself, where I get to meet people and learn their names and then learn their stories. Because a lot of these people on this tour, all the tours so far, but especially Mushroomhead, I noticed people were really opening up about like struggles that they're going through and how our songs would have helped them through their struggles, like the awakening that deals with suicide. We had a couple vets on this tour that walked up to us, multiple vets that came up to us and praised us for our single 0230, which is all about PTSD that vets have to deal with. So that for me is probably the most memorable stuff is meeting people and actually getting to know them and hear their stories.
Very cool.
For me, being the front man, I like to see reaction when we're live. So, obviously the most memorable show for me is the Cleveland show, the Mushroomhead Halloween show. I think it was so fun. The stage was huge. The sound was amazing. The crowd was just unbelievable. I mean, there were 2,500 people in there, sold out that night. It was the Agora Theater in Cleveland, and it was definitely my favorite show of the tour. We got so much video footage of the crowd moshing during our songs. We do a cover of Korn's Blind, and they just lost their minds, man. It was so cool.
Every show.
Yeah, like Joel said, we go down and we meet these people and we talk to them, and that is great. It is 100% why we do this. Like I always said, if I can touch one person with my music or my lyrics ever, I would be happy. One person per show. But we have had multiple people each night come up to us and praise us for things that we're doing or saying, or even if it's just like, holy shit, you guys are an opening band. Like, what? And they're just like,
we got told that multiple
that,
times.
Yeah.
They're like,
what? The fact that
we thought you guys were headlining.
Yeah. And Joel mentioned it before, but it is cool that I mean, we've had people show up with our shirts on already, and like they tell us, "Oh, I was listening to you on the way here, man," and then you played the song and it was awesome. And like, I mean, we live for that shit,
That's great. So it just popped back in my head what I was going to ask before. So real quick, going back to Europe, as far as playing in all these different countries, like what were some like major differences that you noticed going from country to country? Because there had to be a pretty big difference from, city to city that you guys were playing, just based on how things were, how people were, the cultures.
Yeah, I mean, besides the obvious, like languages,
Right? Yeah.
Food is what jumps to my mind. You spend a day or two in one country, and you kind of like, oh, okay, this is you only get a small sliver of like what their food is like, and then you get into another country, and it's usually a little different. There's some similarities, but and the people too. I mean, for the most part, I noticed at least everybody in Europe was just awesome, very nice, very accepting. There'd be some countries where Jay had to work the crowd a little bit more to kind of get them, to get into it, as he was saying. And I don't know if that has to do with culture or whatnot, but that's some of the things that I noticed. Yeah.
Okay. Was there anything that really stood out as far as the food went? Like you tried something, you were just like, holy shit, that was incredible. Kebabs.
Dude, yeah. Those ones in Frankfurt that we had, they're so good.
So good. I'll tell you what, man, the food hands down across the pond is so much better than everything here. I'm talking a fucking cucumber, man. Tastes 1,000 times better over there than it does over here. I went to McDonald's over there just to try it. Better. I mean,
Yeah, they don't even sell half the stuff on their menus out there that we sell here in America.
Yeah.
Now you go up to the UK, it's a little bit more Americanized, that we
Yeah.
noticed that. But yeah, like England and stuff. But down in, I guess, what they call Central Europe, yeah, that food's way better and way different.
Way better.
Yeah, they seem to regulate and have more stipulations for the food out there because they care about the
Yeah.
people more. But
Yeah, right.
They also care about the environment more.
yeah.
Their lids on their bottles are attached to the bottle. You can't pull it off. You can't throw it away. Like
Yeah.
if you go to, like, we went to a festival in Frankfurt and we would get beers or whatever. Now they'll give you these blue tokens and they say, bring this back and you'll get money back for your cup. And we're like, oh, and I couldn't remember exactly how much he said. And we're talking euros and they're worth like a lot more than our money is right now.
Mhm.
But we'd go and spend like $13 on a beer or whatever, right? And then they give you the tokens. And then when you come back with the cup, they give you like $7.50 for those tokens. Like,
Oh wow.
Mhm.
so they really want you to turn that plastic in. They don't want it on the ground. There are trash cans everywhere. It's not like when you drive through New York City out here and you see like this mound of trash going up a hill where all the homeless people stay.
Mhm.
No, they don't have that out there.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a brilliant idea too. All
Yeah.
you bars should start doing that.
Yeah.
give
No.
give $2 back for the overpriced drinks that you're already serving for a freaking plastic cup or some shit.
Yeah.
Right.
So is there like anything? What would be the funniest moment that you guys can recollect from any of
I
touring?
knew this
Not
was
even
coming.
just this tour, but any touring you've done in your
Oh.
career.
I'm gonna go
I mean-
with the ectomorph shit in the middle.
Oh,
of the
don't
night.
steal mine.
Yeah, I mean, we're just gonna say it together because we were both involved in it, but it wouldn't make sense to anybody else
I know.
to like really
You
explain
had
it
to be
you.
there.
You have to be there, but we formed really great relationships and friendships with the guys in Ectomorph. They're so cool, and we are going to go back out there and tour with them eventually. But we developed certain friendships, man, and to have them come on the bus, like me and Joel are in our bunks and they'd come in and they'd say some fucking crazy shit and we just start laughing,
man.
man, like so hard, like your stomach hurts, your eyes are watering type laughing shit. So I think for both of us, that most memorable night is when and the El Nino guys the same way, they'd pipe in on it too, but when we were making fun of the sound guy that night, that was so funny. They pulled up the dude from Road Trip. We were
Yeah.
just laughing so hard, like he looks just like him. So Miggy, the percussionist for El Nino, he spends a lot of he's got a lot of time on his hands in his bunk, so he spends a lot of time cutting people's faces out and putting them on other bodies and shit and like making funny memes and stuff. And so
Yep.
it's I think my most memorable moment is that one night. I know Joel knows what I'm talking about. It's just it was hilarious. We couldn't stop laughing. We woke up the whole bus laughing and everybody just started having a good time after
Well,
that.
and that's just one night out of like 30
Several,
nights
yeah.
that we were there. I mean, there was another night in not Munich. It was at Ingolstadt, Germany,
Yeah.
where we were hanging out with some fans until like 3 o'clock in the morning. We were all outside, and we're in Germany, so they're trying to teach us some German words. Meanwhile, Ectomorph is trying to teach us some Hungarian. So and then on top of that, the El Nino guys come in and trying to teach Spanish. So we're all throwing out like these different words in different languages that we're learning, and they're all laughing at us American, at least the Ectomorph guys were, because we're like trying to pronounce Hungarian's really difficult.
Yeah.
That's one thing I noticed. But I mean, it's just we were in tears for like 2 hours. It was nonstop fun for
Yeah,
sure.
that's right. That's that night that we met Joey and her mom, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, and they were hanging outside with us for a long time, and then she actually came back to the show in Coesfeld about a week later and saw us again and hung out like backstage with us and just chilled with us all night. It was cool. It was really cool to meet her, Joey. If you're watching this,
Did you guys pick up on any other languages, maybe some words or anything while you were out there?
Yeah, but I don't remember shit now.
Yeah, we
totally
had
get
some
that.
down. The Zoli from Ectomorph and the Kush, they were teaching us, I can't remember the word now, but it's ball sack in Hungarian. So
Yeah.
like the whole tour, we were using that word and they were just cracking up over it. They loved it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that was a great tour, man.
Yeah.
Sounds like it. So do you guys do like play any tour games or anything to pass the time when you're driving? Anything like that?
It's funny that you mentioned that. Joel and I play one card game called Egyptian Rat Fuck, and that's about
Yep.
it. We did it on the Mushroom Head tour a couple times. Typically, you don't have time
Yeah.
to do it. I mean, we're working 8-hour days. You know,
Mhm.
it's pretty time consuming. But if we're
Yeah.
on a day drive like the last tour, we had to do a lot of day drives because our bus was very hard to sleep on. It was very rocky, and so
Mhm.
we I just broke out the cards one day and said, "All right, dude, you want to play Egyptian Rat Fuck?" He's like, "Why do I feel like I know this game?" And I'm like, "Here, let's just play
Yeah.
it." He's like, "Oh yeah, I
It's
know."
been a while. It's been a while, but yeah.
So we played that a few times, but other than that, we pass the football around here and there. You know, like
Watch
Yeah.
movies.
yeah,
Yeah, throw some movies on.
yeah.
Nice.
We do the Walmart $5 bin grab. Like
Yeah.
you have to take the one that you pull out no matter what. So
Yep.
Okay. We when we would tour, we would play this game called Odds, and it's just a silly game of like, hey, what are the odds you'll brush your teeth with that candy or something, and then you could pick any number, like 1 through a million, if you really don't want to do it. And on the count of three, you both say a number, and if you both say the same number, the person has to do it. So it's like a little silly thing that, depending on the person, 1 of 10 or whatever. When you finally get someone, it's like, the best moment because you're like, oh, the morale was a little stagnant and now it's way up here and this person's an idiot and they look like it's hilarious. But
Yeah.
we always had fun with that stuff. So do you guys have any pre-show rituals or any superstitions as far as that goes before you get on stage and play?
Joel does.
Yeah. I always have to take a dump. It never fails every show. Like I paint up my arms all black and stuff, and it never fails that I end up having to take a dump after I do that. And then I end up my wife's like, "Why is there black paint on your ass?" And I'm like, "I can explain."
That's funny.
So Joel, he's also got a thing that he has to do before we go on the stage.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
He
And
refuses.
yeah, so ever since our very first show, was it January of 2024 this year, was our first actual show as a band. I went up and gave everybody knuckles, individually, and I've done it every single show on both tours and our 2 shows here in Denver, except 2 times on this Mushroom Head tour. And the 2 times I did not do it, something happened during the show then, and something got jacked up. So I was like, all right, no, like I got to do this every single time. So
So we got to bump the Nux. He has to bump Nux with everybody before we go on. That's the bottom
yeah,
line.
That just makes sense. That makes sense to me.
yeah, yep.
Have you guys been in any near-death experiences, anything like that?
Not that we know of, but on the last tour, it sure felt like we were gonna die a lot.
You mean on tour wise?
Anything,
Oh,
you want to share?
I mean, I'll tell mine after you finish, Jay.
Well, all I'm saying is like the bus was very rough and you never knew what was going on. So because the bus was set up kind of weird and we won't ever use that bus company again, but the you wake up in a panic like what happened because we could feel ourselves like almost falling out of our bunks and we're like what? So
Yeah.
Whether we actually had a near-death experience or not, we don't know. But my vote is for probably several. We just got lucky.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough when you can't see. So in all honesty, I almost didn't make it home to Denver. My wife actually does our merch, so she was on the last tour with us, and my father-in-law was the bus driver. And since it's my trailer, I had to haul the trailer with my truck out to pick up the bus and then drive the trailer home with all the music gear. And we were on our way through Missouri. It was like 9:30 at night. I still need to pull the footage off my dash cam. But we're driving in the left lane, like passing a semi, and it's myself, my wife, and my father-in-law. And the semi is when we're going 75 miles an hour with a 17-foot trailer, and the semi starts slowly coming into our lane. And it's one of those situations on the highway where you've got just a small patch of grass separating east and westbound on I-70, and then there's like the metal median or whatever there. And immediately I knew like this guy, like he's falling asleep at the wheel. Like it was just one of those things where it was so slow, there was no turn signal. And I literally had half of my truck in the grass at an angle with the trailer going 75 miles an hour because
Oh wow.
he pushed me off the road, and I'm sitting there honking on the horn. Finally, I think that's woke him up, and he kind of came back over. But man, if he wouldn't have woken up, I didn't have time to speed up or slow down enough to like we 100% would have collided. So that could have been catastrophic.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Yeah, very
That is
lucky.
terrifying. Absolutely. So I just recently had the bassist of the band No Cure. Have you guys heard of that band? They're like a heavy metal straight edge band.
Okay.
But this dude and his singer, they were, they played their set, and then they go out front of of the venue, and there's a fight. So, they're trying to be good Samaritans. They go up there, they try and get the guys to stop. Guy pulls a knife and stabs both of them.
Oh,
Insane.
jeez.
Like absolutely insane. And then, within 10 days they're playing Furnace Fest, which I don't know if you've heard of Furnace Fest, but that's down in Alabama. It's a huge music festival, but it's insane to see that, people would do that kind of thing for somebody who's just trying to de-escalate a situation. Have you guys ever been in a situation like a fight or anything like that on tour that to try and, prevent anything, or did something get out of hand, anything like that?
I haven't, at least. I mean, both tours we've done so far have been, don't knock on wood, but they've been no issues.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I haven't seen anything like that either. And even all my years of touring, I never ran into nothing like that.
Great.
But I like to stay to myself and my group of people. Like I'll hang out with the fans and stuff, yeah. But if somebody's doing something retarded outside or whatever, and they're just getting, crazy, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, I separate myself. I'm gonna walk away. Now, that's not to say if somebody, somebody's life's in danger, I'll definitely try to help, but
Right,
I've never experienced anything like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. What if you guys had a chance to pick your dream tour, any band that's still playing or no longer, what would that be?
For me, it's legacy bands, all of them. Metallica, Pantera, fucking
Yeah.
Megadeth, all of them, and then just have us open it. Let's go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Joel?
I'd have to agree, although to separate it a little bit, I would love, if it's just personal preference, one of my favorite bands is Memphis Mayfire. I just think it'd be
Okay.
an awesome tour.
Yeah.
And that's just coming from a fan point of view.
Nice. Speaking of Megadeth, what was that tour like when you were singing with Arcanium? What was that experience like?
That was my first tour ever, and I grew up listening to Megadeth. So to have him, he handpicked us from several bands, and just to have Dave Mustaine handpick you like that, number one, is so cool. But being out on the tour, it was great. We were treated like kings. Anything we wanted, we could have. The catering was awesome. Dave was awesome. He came and grabbed my whole band one night, and we drank wine with him, and he told us stories about when he was our age and coming up and all that stuff. And we spent like 2 hours with him hanging out, and it was just a really good tour. On top of that, also Machine Head was on that tour, and Rob Flynn was so cool to me, man. Like we sat down and had several conversations. Same thing with Mitch Lucker, rest in peace, from Suicide Silence. He we all just got along, man, and it was cool, and it was a well put together tour. I couldn't imagine it being any other way because of who they are, but the fact that we were handpicked was awesome. And he mentioned to me in a couple of videos saying that I had an explosive persona and all this. I felt really special to be on that tour and to be able to meet him in person and just chat with him for a couple hours about how he came up and take his advice. Because I'll tell you right now, anybody listening to this or whatever, if anybody like that, any of your idols or anyone ever pulls you aside and asks you to talk to them, don't sit there and flaunt your own shit, man. Like, listen to what they have to say and answer questions when they're asked. But otherwise, like, take it all in because it's worth it.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Did he have any like words of wisdom for you?
Tons, and I'm putting them all to use to this day.
Awesome.
So much that I literally base a lot of how I handle myself in this band around those pieces of advice he gave. So
that's awesome. What's your guys' favorite song to play live?
mine's Final Warning. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Final Warning or The Awakening. But I'm a sucker for melody. So
okay.
I think my favorite song to play live is 0230 because it's very driving, very heavy, and it's also the shortest song we have, so it's just like to the point. But we do this thing in the middle of the song. Sometimes we don't do it all the time, but we stop and just do kind of like a chugging thing, and I get the crowd into it, make them do the haze and shit. And then at the end of the song where that badass breakdown happens and I go deep with the growls, the pit's usually very explosive right there, and I like that. So it's definitely one of my favorite songs to do live for sure.
Nice. Does when you guys are playing like that, from that first note, does the adrenaline just hit you, or like what's it feel like on stage for you guys?
before.
Yeah. Getting ready
Mine
to
hits
get up there.
Yeah, it's like I don't
When
know.
you're taking your shit.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, once I get off the toilet, it's like, all right, it's go time. And yeah, once that intro hits, my adrenaline's already going.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't really get adrenaline from that anymore. Like I get adrenaline halfway through the set, I think. Like I'm calm enough and collective at the beginning and just get out there and get going with it. But we usually open with Aneurysm of a Narcissist, and that song is just a banger. So like, I mean, we all start jumping right away and just start tearing it up right away. And if there is adrenaline, I can't feel it because I'm using all my energy.
Yeah. Is there anything you guys do to kind of build up your stamina to be able to, keep moving so much while you're playing?
I do. I not necessarily for my body, but for my lungs, I take as much air into my lungs as I can, and I hold my breath at least 3 times. I just pump it full and like hold it as long as I can so that the lungs are nice and stretched out. And then I just make sure I take nice deep breaths right before I go on, and I'm usually sitting pretty good at that point.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I jump up and down a little bit before I go on, but I don't know. I got ADHD, so it's like, and Jay can attest to it. Like I can't stand still. So when we get bigger stages, it's more comfortable for me because I have more room to move. I move a lot. So yeah, I mean, it's just when we get on the smaller stages, I'm like, oh, this is bugging me. I can't move. I need to move.
Pretty hard. It's pretty hard on the small ones for sure. Yeah, because I mean, we've been in spots where literally Joel's bass stock is like right here.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like... yeah.
Okay. So when you guys experience moments of homesickness or anything, what do you guys kind of do to remedy that?
Call them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Call them, video chat them, tell them everything's going to be all right. Have them tell you everything's going to be all right. Just, you gotta push through it, man. It's not, there's no ritual for it. It comes and goes. It sucks when it does, and for a lot of us, it's, missing kids or missing wives or whatever it is, but also we've all flown out our significant others as well to spend a couple days with us. And those moments are absolutely cherished, and everyone else in the band knows that. And so the guy who has the visitor is kind of off the hook for
Yeah.
the time being, you know. It's
Yeah,
kind
for
of cool.
sure.
Like the other guys will take care of your shit and make sure everything's loaded and whatever your responsibilities for that day are, everybody's willing to help, and it's really cool, man. We have a really good band, you know, like the camaraderie is just it's there, and I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really sounds like you guys have built a brotherhood there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Is there anything that when you're on tour, there's like you're going to a specific city, you're like, we got to do this, or you know, we got to eat this, anything like that? That's
Oh, yeah.
you know,
Absolutely. We don't get to do it all because
for sure.
sometimes we don't have time.
Load
But,
in,
you know,
sound check, all that shit.
yeah, you go to, like, if you go to New York City or anywhere nearby, you got to get a piece of pizza. You go to Chicago, you got to get a fucking hot dog, you know?
I mean, in Pennsylvania, I don't know how many times we ate cheesesteaks. You know, it's like, well, you're close to Philly, you got to get a cheesesteak.
Yep. But I will say, was it Virginia had the best beef taco I've ever had in my life. That was
Oh, those tacos
incredible.
were good. Yeah, Leesburg, Virginia. It's like it's like this little small town.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was a sold out show. That was one of the best shows we had.
Was that
It's really good.
Tally Ho?
I think it was Tally Ho. Yeah.
That venue was cool. It was huge, and they also had a burger joint right next door. So the venue fed us that night. But the dude, the production manager, he was cool, man. He's like, look, we got all kinds of food around here. Let me tell you what's here. And he goes down the list. And I said, oh, tacos. And he goes, yeah, right around the corner, top of the hill. I'm like, I'm going there. So I went there, and I'm telling you right now, that was the best beef taco I've ever had.
Wow.
It was awesome.
Do not think of Virginia when I think of tacos, you know?
I know. Yeah.
That's crazy. So you guys have a bunch of songs released. Are you guys have anything in the works as far as like a full record release, anything like that?
So it's funny that you mentioned that, because since we've been out touring, we had no idea really that CDs were a thing still. So we didn't print any, you know, but about halfway through this tour, we decided that we would, because we could have sold several hundred.
Yeah, a lot.
So we went ahead and put together some artwork and put all of our singles on a disc and called it Reflections. And you can actually, we are going to release that soon. We have them in our hands, so you can buy them at the live show. You cannot buy them online yet. I don't know if we will release it for streaming or not. All the singles are out there for streaming, but the album itself you can buy directly from us. We will probably put a link on our website for it, so that you can buy it directly from us like that too. But as far as anything else, we don't want anybody's grubby paws on it, so we'll probably just keep it for the people that come to our shows and want a piece of the music, like physically.
Okay, so are you guys releasing all this stuff without a label?
Yes.
Yeah, very cool. Very smart as well.
Yeah.
Especially in today's freaking world.
Yeah.
What's in the future? What's in the future for the band? What are we looking at?
I mean, I know we're working on, well, we have some stuff confirmed for next year. We can't announce it yet, unfortunately. But correct me if I'm wrong, Jay, but I know our management's working on, I think for next year is festivals. We're working on trying to do festivals and you know, some more touring. I mean, that's really about it. Especially, well, on top of that too, writing. You know, I mean, I'm originally a guitarist. This is actually the first band I've ever played bass in. But the nice thing about that is we have 3 guitar players that can write. You know, so you get 3 different styles that mesh pretty well. So we've already started writing a couple new tunes, and I'd say that's, at least from what I can think of, is more touring, hopefully festivals and new music.
Yep. Definitely the writing process will happen at some point here in the winter. This is definitely our last push for the year. And I think the goal for us now is to get to the next level of the live show capacity. So we're looking for anything 5,000 plus, and getting our name out there some more, and hopefully putting out some new music. And definitely we'll have some new merch. You know, we'll be doing new stuff every couple of months, I think, or every at least 6 months, at least one new design to add to the mix. So
awesome. Well, I appreciate you guys coming on the show, sharing some stories and what it's like to be on tour with Mind Incision and all your experiences. Anything that you guys want to promote, social media, anything like that, now would be the time.
I mean, we're on all the social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. It's all Mind Incision. But definitely shout out to you for having us on here, and Jamie Roberts with For the Win Media, and Sean Baruch.
Yep,
Absolutely.
Sean Baruch with Music Gallery International, and then also the other guys in our band that are not here. Without those guys, we wouldn't be what we are. So, and the fans for sure. Like, thank you guys so much for coming out and supporting us and buying the stuff that we have and just really living through this with us, because this is our growth spurt right here, and we're coming back, man. We're gonna see you again.
That's awesome. Again, thank you guys so much for coming on the show. Everybody, thank you so much for sticking around, watching, listening. Be sure to go see them on tour, support the band. These guys are great. The music's awesome. Listen to the music, tell a friend, spread the word, help get their name out there. Like they said, they want to get to that next level. Help them get there. Pick up some merch. Do whatever you can to help them. They're just very deserving. So, yeah, definitely give them a listen. And, we'll see you next time.
Bye, bitch.